Emily Carter almost turned around twice before she reached the clinic door. At 24, she was successful on paper, top of her class in nursing school, newly hired at a community hospital in Columbus, Ohio, but painfully shy in person. Doctor visits made her palms sweat, and this one especially. She'd postponed it for months, convincing herself she was too busy, until her best friend finally pushed her to schedule the appointment. The clinic was modern and calm, all soft blues and quiet music. Emily checked in, kept her eyes down, and took a seat. Her name was called sooner than expected. Emily Carter, the nurse asked kindly. She followed her down the hall, rehearsing polite answers in her head. When the nurse stopped outside an office door, she smiled. The doctor will be right in. Emily nodded, perched on the edge of the chair, heart thudding. A moment later, the door opened. "Good morning, Emily." She looked up, and froze. The man standing there looked more like a tech entrepreneur than a doctor. Early 30s at most, calm gray eyes, crisp white coat, confident, but not arrogant. "I'm Dr. Daniel Brooks," he said, extending a hand. "Please, make yourself comfortable." Emily shook his hand, barely managing a response. She had heard his name before, everyone in the medical community had. Daniel Brooks was the youngest gynecologist in the state to open a women's health center fully funded by his own foundation. Rumor had it he'd sold a healthcare startup for millions before turning 30. A millionaire, and her doctor. "I know appointments like this can feel uncomfortable," Dr. Brooks said, noticing her tense posture. "We'll go at your pace. If you want to stop at any point, just say so." Something about his tone, professional, steady, human, eased the knot in her chest. As they talked, Emily relaxed. He didn't rush her, he listened. When she stumbled over her words, he waited. When she apologized for being nervous, he smiled gently. "You don't ever have to apologize for taking care of your health," he said. "Courage doesn't always look loud." That sentence stayed with her. The appointment itself was handled with clear explanations and strict professionalism. Nothing awkward, nothing rushed, just respect. When it was over, Emily felt lighter, proud, even. Before she left, she glanced at a framed photo on the wall. It showed Dr. Brooks standing in a free clinic, surrounded by women of all ages. "You run outreach programs?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "My mother avoided doctors because she was scared and embarrassed. By the time she went, it was too late. I promised myself no woman would feel alone or ashamed in my care." Emily swallowed. That story sounded familiar in a way she hadn't expected. At the door, he added, "If you ever have questions, medical or career related, I mentor young healthcare professionals." She smiled, genuinely this time. "I'm in nursing school." "I know," he said, tapping her file. "You're going to be excellent." Weeks later, Emily found herself volunteering at one of his clinics. Then another. Slowly, the shy girl who once nearly fled an appointment room began leading patient workshops, helping others through the same fears she'd faced. And Dr. Brooks, he remained exactly the same, professional, supportive, quietly inspiring. The millionaire status faded into the background. What mattered was the man who chose service over comfort, and the doctor who changed lives without ever needing to raise his voice. For Emily, that single appointment became more than a visit. It became the moment she learned that kindness can be powerful, confidence can be gentle, and sometimes, the person who helps you heal also helps you find your own strength. Emily's first volunteer shift at Dr. Brooks's clinic felt surreal. She walked through the doors, still adjusting to the reality that the same doctor who had once made her heart race with nervousness was now someone she worked alongside. The clinic buzzed with quiet energy, patients arriving, nurses attending to forms, and staff moving efficiently between rooms. Emily's role was simple at first, assisting with basic tasks, guiding patients to their appointments, and handling records. But even in these small ways, she began to see the impact Dr. Brooks had on the people around him. He treated every patient like an individual, never rushing, never judging. Women who came in nervous, embarrassed, or uncertain left with a sense of relief, often smiling in ways that seemed impossible when they first arrived. Emily watched, fascinated, as he maintained that balance of professionalism and warmth, realizing she had never met anyone like him before. Even his millionaire status, which she had initially found intimidating, seemed irrelevant here. In this place, his wealth was not a display, it was a tool, used to make healthcare accessible, humane, and dignified. On her second day volunteering, Emily was assigned to a patient named Maria, a young woman who appeared tense and hesitant. Emily recognized the look immediately. It mirrored the anxiety she had once felt sitting in that very same office. She took a deep breath and walked over, offering her softest smile. "Hi, I'm Emily. I'll be helping you today. You can ask me anything, and I'll be right here with you." Maria's eyes flickered between Emily and the examination room, uncertain. But Emily's calm presence seemed to break through the tension. She led Maria inside, explained the procedure in simple, gentle terms, and stayed nearby as Dr. Brooks entered. Emily was amazed at how quickly Maria's body relaxed in response to his tone. The same way Emily had felt safe with him weeks earlier, Maria felt the same. It was as though he had a way of making people trust him instantly, of transforming fear into comfort. After Maria left, Emily found herself lingering in the emptying clinic, reflecting on the chain of events that had led her here. Meeting Dr. Brooks had been intimidating at first, yes, but it had also been life-changing. She realized that she admired him not for his wealth or prestige, but for his empathy and dedication. That admiration grew into something deeper, a desire to emulate him, to help others with the same quiet strength he exhibited. Over the next few weeks, Emily became more confident in her role. Dr. Brooks noticed and offered gentle guidance. "You're doing well," he said one afternoon, reviewing her notes. "But remember, it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about making patients feel seen and respected. That's the hardest, but most important, part." Emily nodded, grateful for his encouragement. She could feel herself growing, not just professionally, but personally. Her shyness didn't disappear overnight, but she found she could speak up more, interact with patients more openly, and even take small leadership steps when helping with workshops. Dr. Brooks's presence was a quiet inspiration. His words and actions were more impactful than any lecture or textbook she had ever encountered. One busy morning, the clinic received a new patient, a teenager named Lily, who had been terrified to come in. Her mother brought her, clearly worried and frustrated. Emily stepped forward instinctively, offering reassurance. "Lily, it's okay to feel nervous," she said softly. "Everyone here is here to help you. You won't be alone." Lily glanced at Emily, then at Dr. Brooks, who was reviewing charts in the corner. Slowly, she allowed herself to be guided into the room. Emily stayed beside her, answering questions and explaining the process. She felt a surge of pride as Lily left, calmer and more confident than when she arrived. Moments like this reinforced everything Emily had learned from Dr. Brooks. True care was transformative, and even small gestures of understanding could change someone's entire experience. After that day, Emily's admiration for Dr. Brooks deepened. She noticed subtle details about him. How he remembered small things about his patients' lives, how he joked lightly to break tension, how he genuinely listened, never interrupting, never judging. It wasn't just his skills as a doctor, it was his humanity, his ability to balance authority with empathy. Emily began to emulate him naturally, adopting similar approaches in her interactions, and she saw the results immediately. Patients opened up, nurses followed her lead, and she even started helping train new volunteers. One evening, after a long day of back-to-back appointments, Emily lingered in the clinic as Dr. Brooks packed up. He looked tired but satisfied, the kind of exhaustion that comes from meaningful work rather than empty busyness. She hesitated for a moment, then spoke. "Dr. Brooks, can I ask you something personal?" He turned, eyebrows slightly raised, but gave her a patient nod. "Of course. I always thought you were intimidating at first. A millionaire doctor, so young, I didn't know how to interact with you. But now, seeing you in action, I understand. How do you do it? How do you stay so calm, so patient, all the time?" Dr. Brooks smiled, a gentle, knowing expression. "It wasn't easy at first. I had to learn that people come to us at their most vulnerable moments. And in those moments, it's not about me, it's about them. Money doesn't make that easier. Confidence doesn't. What matters is empathy, patience, and the willingness to put someone else first. That's the part most people overlook." Emily nodded, absorbing every word. "I want to be like that. Not just a good nurse, but someone who makes people feel safe, like you do. You already are, he said simply. You just have to trust yourself. Weeks turned into months. Emily's growth was visible to everyone in the clinic. Her shyness had not vanished entirely, but it had transformed into quiet confidence. She led patient education sessions, helped with outreach programs, and even suggested improvements for the clinic's operations. Dr. Brooks continued to mentor her, offering subtle guidance, allowing her to make decisions, and letting her grow at her own pace. One Saturday morning, Emily arrived early for a special outreach event at a local school. She set up materials for young women about health, hygiene, and self-care. Dr. Brooks arrived shortly after, carrying boxes of supplies, and gave her a nod of approval. Looks like you've got everything under control. Emily smiled, feeling a sense of ownership she had never felt before. I think so, she said. I learned from the best. He laughed softly. And you've learned quickly. You're going to inspire a lot of people, Emily. Never forget that. That day, watching students engage with the materials, asking questions, and feeling empowered, Emily realized just how far she had come. From the shy girl who had barely walked into a doctor's office, she had become a confident, compassionate, and capable young woman, able to guide others through fear and uncertainty. And through it all, Dr. Brooks remained a quiet presence in her life, not as a distant millionaire, not as a figure of intimidation, but as a mentor, a guide, and a model of what it truly means to care for people. Emily understood now that wealth, prestige, and titles were meaningless without empathy and action. It was the human connection, the patience, and the courage to face discomfort that made all the difference. By the time Emily reflected on her journey, she realized that a single visit to the gynecologist had changed the trajectory of her life. It had been the moment she discovered her own strength, learned the value of empathy, and found a mentor who quietly transformed not just her career, but her understanding of what it meant to truly help others. She knew, as she continued to grow and guide others, that the lessons she had learned from Dr. Brooks would stay with her forever, shaping her into the kind of healthcare professional and person she had always hoped to become.